All right, so the numbers are out for the month of October here in the Waterloo region, and we have basically all the data we need to break it down and see not just what happened, but at the same time, we are going to look at some of the economic indicators that will help us understand if you're a buyer or seller, how to rather navigate the remainder of 2025, what you can expect heading into 2026. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. So you can see my screen by now, and what I'm going to do is go straight into the slide deck that I have put together for us. And basically what happened, this is your market at a glance. We had about just under 600 homes that sold in the month of October. Average price was about 735, and we had close to over 2,000 active listings as of this report. Now, keep in mind, obviously, while some inventory did move, compared to that 569 homes that hit the market, we had close to 1,236 homes that actually hit the market at the same time in a given month. So what I wanted to do is put together, basically calculate the sales to new listing ratio. If you compare 569, which is the sales, divide by the new listings 1236 times 100, that's where your sales to new listing ratio of 46% is. And what that basically means is we are clearly in the buyer's territory, definitely much more favorable conditions for the buyer. That ratio, as I've mentioned in my past videos, whenever it's under 40%, definitely buyer's market. 40 to 60, it's considered balanced market, but you can see being 46% well within the buyer's control and far away from that of the seller's control. Typically anywhere over 60%, that ratio would indicate a strong seller's market or a market that's favoring the sellers. Now, a couple of more things to note. We are seeing close to 4 months of supply, and that includes all types of property. Condos have the highest supply, where the detached homes have the lowest when it comes to the months of supply. And you will see how it corresponds to the price declines we are seeing month over month and year over year as well, because at the end of the day, it's basic supply demand economics, and that is basically correlating and corresponding to the price declines for each individual type of property, which we will look at in the next slide. So, but average days on market, fairly stable. It's taking about just over a month on an average for a property to get off the shelf based on this data. Now, moving forward to the benchmark price, and this is what I meant. It's reported separately by the Regional Real Estate Board for Kitchener-Waterloo and then that of Cambridge. But overall data, very much similar if you look at both month over month and year over year data. But we are seeing well over 6% decline when it comes to the prices. But here's what I meant, whereby, single family homes, if you look at these numbers, single family homes in KW are the ones that are holding, or I would say they are most resilient when it comes to the price declines, whereas the apartments are the worst affected. And then the townhomes are definitely somewhat affected as well. Especially if you look at the year over year price decline in KW, close to 8% decline. And that's a significant decline, if you ask me, when it comes to townhome prices. And that's where I say it's definitely creating those great opportunities for many first-time home buyers, because they are the ones who are always looking for this kind of product. Starter homes, townhomes, that are priced well under 700K in a good neighborhood. You have plenty of them available across the KWC these days. So, but if you see, I have mentioned in my previous videos, the apartments is definitely a worrying trend. And, if you guys have been following this data and the news, you probably did see the apartment prices, not just in KWC, but the broader Greater Toronto area and the core of Toronto. It's definitely a troubling issue with the excess inventory that is not getting absorbed, and the price pressures continue to build, weighing the prices down month over month and it continues. We'll see how it bottoms out, but definitely right now, if you're an investor, definitely stay away from the apartment on condo units. Again, not an advice for a client under contract, but I would say be cautious about how you proceed with it. Yes, some good units, good layouts, definitely worth looking into if it fits your budget and that's the most you can afford. But other than that, I would steer away from, at least for now, because it's definitely not something to play around with. Market shifts in October. We looked at the inventory explosion, and this is what I meant. 90% increase compared to that of the 10-year average. What I mean is typically for the month of October, we on any given month, on any given year on the MLS, you will see about 1,000 to 1,100 homes on the MLS in the Waterloo region. Now, right now, it's sitting well over 2,000 homes, and that's basically what's that 90% increase, almost double of what we are supposed to see as a 10-year average for the month of October. So definitely a lot of supply and a lot of options for the buyers. Now, condominium is where, like I said, you see there is definitely a correlation between the more supply, the more price pressure, and the condo is a classic example as a product type where we have close to 8 months of supply for the condominiums, and as a result, they are the ones they have experienced the steepest year-over-year decline for that particular asset class. And that's what I meant when I mentioned earlier, the demand-supply economics in a nutshell. Now let's look at the economic and the mortgage update. This is basically the timeline of the Bank of Canada when they began to increase the rates back in March 2022. Peaked the rates, reached a peak where policy rate was 5% and the prime was at 7.2 in 2023 to now, as of October, they last week just reduced it by another quarter basis point, bringing it down to 2.25, prime at 4.45. So definitely buyer affordability is improving, but obviously let's look at, even if you look at the 2026 outlook, I don't think they're going to do one more rate cut for the rest of this year. The Bank of Canada is done with easing right now. I think now they are going to cautiously, take a step back and monitor closely what's happening with the inflation, the job data, the overall economic, the GDP data, to see whether or not they would consider more, further rate cuts into the 2026. But I think for the rest of 2025, I am, at least from what I have at hand right now, we are not expecting another rate cut by the Bank of Canada in their final rate announcement. But, here is what I mean. For 2026, we all know where the economics stands for now, for the, the whole country as a whole. And it's not looking good, right? We have a slower economy. The job data is not supporting. And of course, we had a budget that was just announced as of yesterday. And we had close to $78 billion of deficits, perhaps more. And that's not very optimistic for any economy. And that's basically what I mean. Like, I'm not too optimistic for the 2026, if you ask me. I think, in order for activity to really pick up, the consumer confidence will have to go up. The business investment will have to go up. And that can only go up when consumers and businesses do have confidence in the economy and the way things are progressing. And right now, that is not seeming to be the case. And that's why we are seeing the support from the Bank of Canada when it comes to these rate cuts. But overall, definitely we are expecting slower GDP growth. We might probably see more job losses. So unemployment rate likely to rise. We just saw in the budget also, the federal government is cutting down on the public service sector, the jobs, to kind of, cut down the spendings to a certain extent. And part of that plan was to cut down the public service jobs. And that will obviously result in more unemployment. Not just that, but, just the new business investments are not flooding into Canada. And that's going to show up in the unemployment data. So overall, the market as a whole at a macro level, I don't think it's too optimistic for Canada, but we will see how things pan out. I really hope it pans out better than at least it looks right now. So let's take a look at the key market trends as of right now. We obviously saw the buyer's market emerging, all these things. Affordability definitely is rebounding. If you were to really look at from the peak of the rate cycle, when the Bank of Canada started to increase the rate, monthly carrying costs for a mortgage, definitely much lower than what it used to be. And townhouse and condo prices are down somewhere between 5 to 8%, detached homes closer to 5%. So all those things are definitely, I would say, a good time for buyers, honestly. As much of a cliche as this might sound, but I wholeheartedly do believe that for a first-time home buyer looking to settle down and not really play around with the market, I think this is a good time. You have plenty of options. All these data points are pointing towards it. Yes, you might argue, based on the economic conditions, what if the prices do continue to go down? And you know what? They might continue to go down. But the thing is, it's not feasible for you to find the bottom of the market and to know exactly what that bottom will be. So that's why I say, if you have a time horizon of at least somewhere between 3 to 5 years, the longer the better, then I think, now is a good time to consider looking into the market, because you have a lot of options. You are able to do your due diligence. You are able to, sit on a house and, not being carried away by the crazy expectations of the sellers. So that's why I feel like definitely now is a good time. Now, having said that, if you are, let's say, a buyer, who is directly involved in an industry that's affected by tariff, if maybe your job is in question, or maybe you barely are making enough down payment and you don't have any emergency money, say 3 to 6 months of your cash flow, then I would say no matter how low are the prices, now is not a good time for you. Perhaps financially you are not ready. And, I have mentioned over and over, and I would continue to do the same, where have your emergency money, definitely intense, even no job is secured. We just saw even the public service sector is going to experience some job cuts. So what I'm trying to say is you want to have in conditions like this, you want to have 3 to 6 months of cash flow saved up on the top of your down payment. But overall, if you have a stable job, if you know that, okay, you have enough safety net money saved up, and if you're ready, then I think there are some really good deals out there in the market and you can take advantage of it. But just keep in mind, you need to have a time horizon at least 3 to 5 years or perhaps longer. So that's just my take about it. And that's basically what, in a nutshell, this market update has to bring. I will continue with this monthly market updates as we head into the month of November. And if you want to have a one-on-one dialogue as to how to navigate the current market conditions, maybe now is a good time, maybe it's not a good time for you to buy or sell, by all means, reach out to me. You can call me, text me, email me. All my contact info is right below. In fact, you can go down to the first comment in this video, and that's where you will see all my contact info. So that's how you can reach me. I'll be happy to have a dialogue for you and honestly give you that candid opinion, candid thought based on your specific situation, and no hard selling. So that's all I have for you, and I'll see you in my next update. And until next time, I will continue to show you around the town.